Now, this is a Bitcoin update for those who are holding Bitcoin or are trying to understand where we are directionally on higher time frames, on the macrocosm of Bitcoin's positioning here. So the properties are as such. Yesterday's pump was quite significant, and I was kind of ready to experience a 2 to 3% uptick in prices after a strong compression on the lower time frames here. So this is a 4-hour time frame, and if you remember, I was long somewhere along the lines of 113, expecting price to go up, but unfortunately this one tiny little candle took me out, since I was trading systematically based on the hourly baseline support, which we unfortunately lost due to this shakeout candle before price fully reversed, and that was very unfortunate. And I'm currently down by 2.5% of my account that I will need to come up with a strategy to recover from. So I'm not looking for active participation right now, because I have to be very careful in terms of finding my next setup with MarketSpy and how I execute into it. But this chart here is going to briefly show you where we are and what to expect in the coming months from Bitcoin. Now, it is obviously necessary to cover both grounds when assessing Bitcoin. So for bears and for bulls, there is a little bit of something for everybody here. Leaving the daily chart aside, the pivot open here on the daily is telling us that we have a bearish open, and whatever the chop brings us on this 4-hour time frame here, we're using top floor pivots called CPR as the backbone of our DSR module from MarketSpy trading system, and that basically prints these blocks of support and resistance, and it's a quite thick block, and so we can expect lots of chop here. But ultimately, I do believe that this was a bearish rally overall, and my reason to believe that is because here on the daily chart, let's jump over to this quadrant of a chart, and we can see how the trailing steps, which we have started printed from here, the trailing steps have not been overcome yet by this price action. And so what this tells me is that this was a stop loss sweep, or at least that is the case for now, until we reclaim 118, which is our next level of interest. And Bitcoin bouncing off of this S2 level, coming back in the Ranger zone over here, but not overcoming the trailing steps, getting rejected at the pivot open on the weekly DSR pivots. We have to interpret this as a bearish rejection as it stands. And in order for us to see higher prices, we have to overcome this level specifically, which will bring us to 118. And 118 calls for a high probability levels, which if you toggle this thing on and off, you can see that we are at a high probability level now. So this is something that you should expect. The reason it's called high probability is because if we're able to overcome this 118 level, Bitcoin will quickly bring us back to 120. And if we can overcome 121 level, and these are all labeled over here, then we can expect to break out of this high probability R1 level and the pivot high level. So until we come here to BC, which we will need to double the amount of torque that we witnessed here, Bitcoin needs to double its percentage gain all the way up to this point, which is going to be extremely difficult to do so in the next coming weeks, then we should not look to higher prices on this asset, unfortunately. So we'll treat this as a bear rally for now. And the bias is still kind of short. If we move over to the next chart here, which is we're on the weekly now, we can see that the trailing step remains untouched, and the next that gets printed will be somewhere around here at the previous low. And so what that means simply is unless we hold this line here and we start bouncing and go back to that 21 level that I kept talking about, it is very likely that after a little bit of a chop, we'll start coming down, and my 107 projection is most likely going to materialize at that point, where we will have a small directional bid that will look something like this, and we'll be able to capture anything in this area here once it prints. But I do think that this is rather bearish. We have a rejection here. We had support here, and so we're kind of like stuck in the zone where expect price to chop. And if when I draw these lines, if these are, bearish, bullish lines, it doesn't really matter. If the chop continues for a prolonged period of time and forms a sort of compression here, then in the next few weeks, you should expect some sort of chop that is going to be very difficult to navigate. And so you better have a system to be able to make sense of it. I'd like to point your attention now to the last quadrant on this chart, where we have our chart set to yearly. Now, yearly ceiling support means that we have hit the maximum potential for 2025. And the only thing left to say here is that if by some miracle overcoming 21, you see this level 21, if we can overcome 121 on Bitcoin and rally above it before the end of the year, then we can expect to see new all-time highs. But the way that this is looking now is it's looking like a consolidation zone or a full-blown reversal zone. Now, obviously, this candle will not stay like this forever. This is a monthly chart versus yearly pivots. So monthly, we're halfway there, and we have been rallying for half a year, straight up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, give or take. And usually, if you look at any one of these CPR blocks, halfway through, reversal, halfway through, reversal, halfway through, reversal. And we can go back and take a look at this: halfway through, reversal, halfway through, reversal. Breakout, halfway through, little consolidation, reversal. Breakout, these are thin levels, this is not so thin. And again, halfway through, we have a reversal. Halfway through, we have a reversal. So I'm telling you that we are going to see a reversal in 2026. Now, halfway through over here, and well, not a reversal, but a continuation. So yearly time frame is very important to keep tabs on at this stage of Bitcoin's development. And lots of elements that are present here on this chart on the weekly and daily chart, but I'm talking about weekly, sort of weekly mess, right? And we're still technically consolidating for a big, big mega move from this point. So we had an extra thin layer over here out of which we broke out, and that was understandable. But everything else is kind of medium to large size blocks that will not allow price to escape this range for the time being, but it is leaning bearish since the rejection on at 121. Now, I'm not looking at all-time high as an indicator of where the rejection happened. I'm looking strictly based on the pivot floors that traders are known to react to, and algorithms are no different. And so this is your update. I am extra careful, extra bearish at this level, and for good reason. As I have just explained, it is wise to treat this as a midpoint in the year from which further clarity will arise. But this is a doji candle which calls for a reversal. It's at 71%, so we've got until the end of the month to start printing another candle. And I do believe that that candle may rise up a little bit, maybe 118 and change, take that out, and then crash back down. This is what you should expect from Bitcoin. And when it does crash to 117, it's technically a chunky support zone here. And the one thing that I want to talk about regarding the high probability setups, you can actually see a lot here. There's not really that much that's going on in terms of what's being plotted on the chart. It does look messy, but all you have to do is look at price candles. You don't really look at the indicator. You just look at what price is doing. And so I want to help you understand that within a range, when we see these yellow pluses, these high probability levels are always something that you're going to see Bitcoin sweeping consistently. So we had one here, we had a reversal, high probability setup, we took it out, we went up, high probability here, we came back down, got sucked back into it, got rejected over here, came back down. This is an open high probability level, we came back up, cleared that. This one is open now, we came back up, came back down, cleared it, we came back up, and we just cleared this level. And we have one more remaining. Again, this is at around 119, 118 zone, and somewhere around here. I don't think Bitcoin will be able to do so. I don't think it's going to be clearing this level. So I think if this rejection holds here and we chop a little bit, there's a very, very good chance that we start coming back down to clear this level right here, which is 109. And right below it is 108. And right below that is 105. And right below that finally is 100K. And 100K is, since we already had an S1 breakdown. Now we came back above it, right? We came back above it. But this is Jerome Powell talking, speaking, whatever. But we came back above it, but we still closed 1, 2, 3 daily candles below that R1 breakout. And so what this means is the next logical level would be S2. Now we're getting violent reactions from there. But the weekly chart is pointing to S3 and S4. Now, this is going to soon come to an end. We have about 2 more days for it to print another chart. And depending on how it prints and the likely outcome here, because of this bundle of candles, all right, let me just switch the color up for you. Because of this bundle of candles here, this is likely going to print like this. And so you're going to see something like this. This is how we're going to get to this level over here. And I'm leaning bearish overall, like I said, for these reasons and then some. So the sentiment is not that great. And Bitcoin has had way too many recoveries in the past. During extremely close calls, and So as long as we're sandwiched here, there's nothing really to look forward to unless we reclaim 118, which will push us to 121. And 121 will open the door to new all-time highs and a true breakout on the yearly time frame. But if that doesn't happen, and we do have until the end of the year to see if that's the case, when you will see that, this is a monthly setup. And we're kind of floating in the middle of this monthly CPR chart. Trailing step has not been touched, so technically all the people who are long from a long time ago from here, there was a setup here that I shared that was a nice swing setup, but they're still okay, and they're protected by this trailing stop. However, as we move closer and consolidate here, there's a very, very good chance that we may come back and tag it. So far, on the weekly time frame, with the monthly CPR floors, we're currently hanging on the do or die line over here. 75%. If we close slightly lower at 115, 114, we can easily expect price to start accelerating to the downside toward our 107 level. So this is your monthly. A bit chaotic overall in terms of how I presented this, but just wanted to give you like a general scope of what to expect, to look forward to the doji on the yearly, on the monthly chart, to anticipate these levels and the tagging of the lower CPR floors over here, because we had a rejection here, and the way that DSR works is we trade pivot to pivot, so point to point, and some may perceive this as bullish action, but to me, I look at it as a sweep of the previous all-time high at 123, an immediate rejection, and a sweep of the people who actually went for the all-time high at 112 yesterday, and an immediate rejection. And so price is now sitting on the central pivot range, and this close on the weekly in a couple of days will decide if we start going back up or going back down. I am ready to go back down just because I know candles like these are very unsustainable on daily time frames, and when they pop out of nowhere, even if they're expected, even if I see that despite taking a loss there, that directionally it was meant to go up, it was a little bit extreme, and we failed to cross the trailing steps, and we failed to break out of the pivot open over here, which is a high probability level that Bitcoin inevitably tags if you look back in any given range, and it doesn't leave any crumbs behind. So 109 is in sight, despite what this is showing us right now. So there you have it, and I'll leave you with that. Feel free to join our Discord and speculate there, ask questions, and on lower time frames, it's a whole different game. We have so many opportunities trading lower time frames, but your exits are bound by $200, $500 exit points, and you don't really have to worry about all this. You just have to survive the day. Crypto Ranger out, and I'll see you in the next update. Thank you for watching.